friends. It's Wednesday, January 8th at about 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Today, I thought I would focus this astrology chat live, this daily astrology live that I'm doing in 2025 on Mercury moving out of Sagittarius finally and into Capricorn. So let me just get that highlighted on our chart really quickly if you are following along with a visual for this. Sometimes I just like to do a very simple with clarity. But this, my hope is that this chat works for wherever you are in your enjoyment and study of astrology. If you like to just listen and hear about these ideas and you don't want to follow along with the chart, that works. And if you do get something out of that, then feel free to engage with that as well. Um, okay, Mercury has been in Sagittarius for so long because we had a retrograde happening in that sign. So Mercury moved into Sagittarius, moved all the way through, went retrograde, went back, and then moved forward. So it sort of traversed the sign. You know what? I can show that with a quick visual, and I think that that might be helpful. Let me do that. Let me sort of draw that in. Let me use the arrow. So this retrograde, Mercury moved into Sagittarius, went retrograde, moved direct, and then now finally is moving into Capricorn. So normally Mercury only takes about a month to go through a sign, but when a retrograde is involved, because it's sort of traversing, let's leave this up while we talk about Mercury in Sagittarius. Because it goes back and forth across the house a few times, it's there for so much longer. And so we get a real intense focus of that energy. So it was early November, like November 3rd, that Mercury first moved into Sagittarius. And then it's just moving out just last night, just yesterday. So that is a full 5 to 6 weeks longer than we usually enjoy a visit from Mercury. I do love to sort of personify these transits. Imagine an actual house and Mercury has come for a visit. Usually Mercury comes for about 3 weeks, but this time Mercury's like, yeah, I'm going to come for 2 months. And I'm going to do a lot of different work while I'm there than I usually do because Mercury was retrograde. So the other thing to know about this is that Mercury isn't exactly fond of being in Sagittarius. Mercury is happiest in Gemini across the way. So Mercury is actually debilitated, it's called, in Sagittarius. It can struggle a little bit. Mercury had some interesting work to do between November 3rd and now. And this has been showing up for us in sort of a variety of ways. I feel like I want to just add a little visual because people kind of come in and out, and I think that that's awesome. But for clarity's sake, I just want to make it clear what I'm talking about. So Mercury in Sag is what we're on right now. Yeah, Mercury in Sag is what we're talking about right now. We will then talk about Mercury in Capricorn, but I want to talk about the energy that is changing, that is leaving right now, because this Mercury in Sagittarius really was a big deal and it really did go on for a long time. So I think that letting that go a little bit, dialing it back, being able to sort of like chill out, tone it down. I was trying to think for the thumbnail of what to call it. So you'll see why as I review these different traits that generally are associated with Mercury in Sag. Like I said, because it was there for so long and because it was a retrograde, some of the more negative challenging aspects of Mercury and Sag are likely to come to the surface. This isn't a diss for anyone with Mercury and Sag. Some of my favorite people have Mercury and Sagittarius, for real. I love this signature. But it is a little bit, it can be a challenging placement in some ways, as much as it's wonderful in others. And some of those challenging aspects of it are more likely to come out when we're working with a retrograde, right? So again, November 3rd till just now. So talkative, definitely talkative. Mercury and Sagittarius can be prone to exaggeration, like almost to the point of misunderstanding. So it was the best party ever. It was the greatest day I ever had. It was the best conversation. It was the worst conversation. If someone tells you it was the best day of their life, you may be poised in a certain kind of way. And then as you hear it, you realize they were sort of exaggerating. So in a way, that's a misunderstanding, if that makes sense. And that's the kind of misunderstandings that I feel like you get with Mercury and Sagittarius, because they are very honest. It is a very honest signature, that Mercury and Sag signature. It's very blunt, right? And that can be sort of bad too. Not always like the best sign, the best signature for keeping a secret. People tend to blurt things out and just be really blunt and honest. So misunderstandings or exaggerations or anything that isn't exactly accurate sort of comes from this enthusiasm, which is also part of the Sagittarius signature. That's really beautiful, but also can lead to some challenges when we're working with something like this. Oversharing, overpromising, a restless mind. I think it can be really easy to focus on the interpersonal aspects of a Mercury retrograde, but the ones that go on within us are really important too. And Mercury retrograde in Sag, if you have had a bit of a racing mind, if your thoughts have been sort of exhausting you, that may begin to sort of let up a little bit right now. And that was a bit on time because we're always meant to do these things. We're always meant to go through this stage to sharpen us in some way or another, to bring our attention somewhere. Normally Sagittarius does just float around through each sign in just a few weeks. And for whatever reason, right here signifies there's that correlation for all of us as well with what's happening in the sky, that just a little extra energy was going there right now. And so that overactive mind needed to happen. That extra energy kind of needed to tap in right there. And that's totally okay. It can be unfocused study, right? Mercury in Sagittarius is very curious, but that enthusiasm can sort of cause the mind to not be super focused. And that is a big part of why I think Mercury sort of is debilitated in Sag. That's where it sort of makes sense to me. It likes more of a focus. It likes to be able to be clear and easy. Anyway, these are some of the traits of Mercury and Sag that we've been working with for a couple months. And the fact that they're letting up right now is really exciting. Mercury in Capricorn is the perfect, the perfect antidote to this. Let's move the chart around a little bit and then get into that. It's so cool how the signs are so different than the one that is next to them, So it's crazy how like Capricorn and Sag couldn't be sort of more different. And you'll see what I mean as I get into this here. Sorry. I hope that these visuals are helpful. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Ooh, my gosh. I know I should be doing like a screen share instead, and I think I will get into that. But there's something I like about showing you my process and showing you the way I do it, but I think it would be more professional and probably easier to enjoy if I just did a screen share. So I'll have to figure out and learn how to do that. I've been learning so many new things as I learn to make these videos. How is everyone today? Please put any questions in the comments and I'll get to them at the end. We're going to talk about Mercury and Capricorn now, and then we'll do a little time for questions if there are any, and then I'll be back again tomorrow. But please, if you stayed for the Mercury and Sag, make sure you hear this Mercury and Capricorn stuff because it's so different. Like I said, it's like the perfect remedy. It really is so beautiful as a complement to what we just went through with Mercury and Sag. Okay, so Mercury and Capricorn, on the other hand, it's like now Mercury can breathe after all that sort of overdoing, oversharing, overpromising, over talking, talking too quickly, talking too much. We move into little Capricorn. And Capricorn had Pisces here for Pluto here for so long, and now Pluto isn't there. So I just think the Capricorn part of our chart is feeling sort of a lightness and a brightness right now that it hasn't for a while anyway. And do you feel that in your life a little bit? You don't have to know where Capricorn is, like just like a little pocket, a little place where maybe things feel lighter and easier than they have in a while. I feel like I do. And that might be that Pluto and Capricorn moving off, like despite all reason to feel that way sometimes, you know? Um, yeah, just sort of able to tap into something. So, anyway, Mercury is now in Capricorn, Pluto is not. And this signature is all about strategic thinking. The way in which Mercury in Sag was sort of unfocused, Mercury in Capricorn is not. Mercury in Capricorn's thinking is strategic, practical communication, wanting to communicate about practical things, doing it in a really reasoned way. Mercury in Capricorn has a serious tone, right? The way in which Mercury in Sag can be sort of hyperbolic and the worst and the best and the most and the least. Not Mercury in Capricorn. More of a serious tone, practical, strategic. I feel like Mercury in Capricorn has clear boundaries. I'm looking at my notes here. It's sort of interesting that I wrote that down because in a way it's not a Mercury thing, but it is. You know, Mercury is about the way we communicate, the way we think. So boundaries are sort of different, but I do mean it in a Mercury way. Like I feel like the energy when Mercury is in Capricorn is just a little more guarded mentally, right? Mercury in Sag is not. It's like wide open and racing. Mercury in Capricorn is like, okay, I have things to do. I cannot be racing right now. I have to focus. I have to be strategic. I have to use this mental energy, um, in practical ways. So Mercury in Capricorn is patient with details. It is more of a reserved expression, right? So we're moving from that talkative, exaggerates to the point of misunderstanding, talks too quickly, enthusiastic, overshares, overpromises, um, honest and blunt, unfocused study, restless mind, into strategic thinking, practical communication, serious tone, clear boundaries, patient with details, reserved expression. Ugh, it's kind of relaxing. And this is coming from someone, I really do love a Mercury and Sag energy. Not necessarily retrograde. It's like Mercury and Sag is already a little bit too much. So when you put it retrograde and just spend such a long time with that signature, it's extra true. And there is something sort of, I don't know, Capricorn and earth signs in general. Sometimes it's like it can feel not as exciting, which is maybe like a synonym for boring, right? Like earth sign stuff can sometimes feel a little boring, but the older I get, the less that's true. The more I'm like, please bring in that comfort of that stability, of those clear boundaries, of the practical communication. It's nice. So I think it is sort of a nice respite after everything that we've been going through with Mercury and Sagittarius. So I'm just looking at the comments now and I see some wonderful hellos from people. Thank you so much for being here. Just thank you for everyone who's been tapping in with the channel lately. I'll link to some other videos that I did this week. You know, these are definitely relevant for more than just the day that we're in, as you can see for this from this video. So if you enjoyed this content, you know, feel free to check those out. Some recent episodes, you might like those too. And I hope you have a great day. I'll be back again tomorrow. Thanks.